Hey, 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 and we are back. Again, this week we are the Musicians Personal Development Podcast, and I am CC Bass.
And this is Wil Cameron.
And we are two seasoned musicians here to bring you the best actionable tips to help you become your best musician self.
Right.
And if you like what you've heard on the Musicians Podcast, so you know that we cover anything from how to connect with the audience, how to do self-discipline as a musician,
mindset,
how to deal with burnout.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Age is not an excuse. You can learn at any age. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, NPD Podcast. And you can find us on Facebook at NPD Podcast, as well as our email at npdpodcast@gmail.com.
Right.
So, Wil, I noticed that you're in a different location today.
Oh,
yeah. Where in the world are you?
Well, no. So, I'm at another secret location. I am safe, I am secure, I'm warm, and I've got a full belly, so I'm okay. But I'm just out of town on business and stuff. But, we got to make the podcast happen, regardless of where we are. So I wanted to be here. So because I see you brought someone with you today. Who did you bring with you?
Well, so I will say, I brought a special guest, and because, we've been doing this podcast for several months now. We have several episodes out there, and we've got a variety of topics. But when I go around and I talk to different people about what we're doing in this podcast, the one thing that people seem to relate to the most is the performance jitters, the anxiety surrounding performance. So, and I just feel like it's such a powerful thing, and we don't really talk about it. It's such a taboo topic. So, and, you've heard me share my story. If you haven't, I struggled with social phobia. It took me out of music for about 8 years. But then through some personal development, I worked my way back, and I'm back to playing professionally now. But I've, recently, I play with this lady that you see here on the screen now, and we play in a band together, and she confided in me about 5 months ago that she actually has struggled with some of the same things. And so I was really kind of taken aback, because let me tell you about this lady here. She's been around a minute. She started singing since she was 2 years old. She's a vocalist, and very good vocalist, and highly sought after, was a backup singer for Miss Patti LaBelle. Oh. And, people pay to come see her. She sells out, shows and so forth. And I want to introduce to you the infamous Miss Carmen Craven, very highly sought after vocalist here. So, Miss Carmen, thank you so much for hopping on today.
And thank you for having me. My honor.
Yes, I'm so happy. I want to say something just really quick. This. Wil, you're so corny. I want to say, Carmen, I'm not saying this to toot your horn, but you really are one of my favorite singers. It's something about the timbre of certain people's voices. I hear people, they can sing all the time, but there's certain people that that resonate with you, and you are one of those people. For some reason, it's happened that way. You're always on point, even when I know you're tired. You're always on point with your intonation, and it's really amazing to hear you sing. And the way I would describe you is classy. But let's get to the real reason why we're here. So. Tell us your story, because you mentioned to me about 5 months ago that you heard something I said or read something, and that you said that you could relate to my story. So I wanted to hear more about your story and to share with that. So what has it been like for you?
Well, thank you, Wil and CC, for having me. Thank you, CC. I appreciate those wonderful things you said about me. I really do. So I was reading your book, and I could just relate to so many things, but the one thing that I really resonated with was the performance anxiety and the confidence. And a lot of people are really shocked when I talk about me not having confidence in myself. They're really shocked about that. I've actually struggled with that my entire life. Most people don't notice it. it's kind of like controlled chaos.
Interesting.
So what my experience is, right before a gig, I am so nervous. Sometimes I actually get a headache. I may even get sick to my stomach.
Wow.
And it's just because there is such a high expectation for myself, one. And I love what I do. And I want to make sure that those who have paid their good money to come and see me, I want them to have an experience when they leave my show, you know, more than just a show. I want you to have had an experience. So just before I go on the stage, I always pray because I understand my gift. This is a gift. And I understand that it's much bigger than myself. So I always pray and I thank God for the gift he's given me. And then I ask to be used by him. Use me to get whatever message you need to get across to the people. And I take that very seriously. I know this is not about me, and this is about God's people. And I am just honored and blessed to be able to convey whatever message it is for that evening. But it can be, it can be pretty scary before I go on stage. Some of the people that work with me know that sometimes it's like a ritual. We're praying and speaking positive affirmations to one another. But for the most part, it's not sometimes, it's every time. I'm always, sometimes almost a wreck. Nervous energy, and it's not always bad. It's not always bad. Some of that nervous energy is good. It lets me know that I really and truly and sincerely care about what it is that I do.
Yeah, that's, you said a lot of interesting things there. And one, you mentioned that the kind of the way you push through it is through prayer. And that's something that we actually haven't talked about here. I don't think we've ever mentioned that, Wil, on the show, but, so people have their various tools and what they use. Something that let's do this. So we know that you have it. You mentioned that you have it. You struggle. You said you struggle with this your whole life. But let's try to peel back the layer of the onion just a little bit further. Why do you think that you have those nerves? Like what's going through your mind when you're preparing for a performance and before you actually make your entry on stage? What do you think is hanging you up?
One of the things is actually what you said, being prepared. Mm-hmm. Did I do enough to prepare myself for this function? And sometimes it's, yeah, I did. I know I did, but did I do enough? I think just from growing up, there's just always been an expectation or level of excellence that I expect of myself, but just afraid of not being accepted, afraid that people might not like me, they may not like what they hear. Just basic confidence. I wasn't always the skinny kid, I was usually the larger of all the kids. And I think that had a lot to do with my confidence in singing, although I had this big voice, I didn't look like everybody else. So that lack of confidence actually made it over to me performing. And still to this day, I still struggle with that. I know just like with food, people eat with their eyes, and sometimes people make, certain assumptions when they see you. It even follows me through my dancing, another thing that I do. It followed me through high school when I was a cheerleader. I didn't look like the average cheerleader. I don't look like your average Zumba instructor. So I cared about what people thought. And I know a lot of times, we say, well, I don't care what people think. That's just not true for me. I do care what people think to a certain extent. So I do care about that. Those were some of the things that really were tough for me.
Wow.
It's not uncommon to hear from people, those who are willing to admit it, when they share information about self-esteem or a lack of confidence. But it takes a long time, and it takes a certain amount of trust for people to open up and have discussions about that. So we really appreciate you sharing that with us. You had mentioned before that you said just briefly that, sometimes you're stressed, but a little bit of stress is okay, or it's nice, and it's almost as if it's you expect it to be there because it helps you to better prepare and to a degree perform. That nervous, that little bit of stress that can be helpful to push you just that little bit more to ensure your performance is up to par to your standards, or something that you would be satisfied with. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, I also think that's interesting too, because you perform a lot other than just what our playing together. But I also noticed that we kind of play a lot of the same songs each time, and it's like how much more prepared can you be? At some point, do you just find yourself just, I'm gonna let it go, because the songs in and out, and you embellish how you want to embellish them, you put your spin on it.
So interestingly enough, no performance is ever the same for me.
Right.
They're all different, even if it's the same venue. Like we do Blues Alley at least once a year, every year. And that show is different for me every single time I go in. So almost like a new set of new set of things that I'm nervous about, if that makes any sense. But yeah, even though I've sang these songs so many times, I always want to do better. I always want, maybe do a different run or a different riff, or just do something different, because I want the people to have a different experience. So for me, it is a lot about the experience. Good show is, but I just really want you to leave having had an experience. That's the way I experience God spiritually. I want to always leave having had an encounter and an experience. So that's what I want, my audience to feel the same way.
Yeah, nicely put. And, something that you said that you kind of breezed over that I'm interested in knowing more about, when you said that, okay, so like when, you sing you play at Blues Alley, but every time you go, there's some, even though you're singing the same things or more or less, you find something new to get nervous about, or can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. Usually it's someone new in the audience that's never seen me before, or someone that I may hold in high esteem. Oh, I'm so nervous. Like, oh my gosh, so-and-so is in the house, and then, you never know who else is amongst the crowd, so I'll find that'll be a new thing that I'll get all nervous about.
Okay,
Who's
good.
out there? Oh my gosh, so and so is out there. Oh my gosh, and then sometimes the person who's there, and their level of expectation, and that they are expecting nothing but excellence from you, which that's what you should be expecting yourself too. But it's just those small nuances, just little small things sometimes, feel like big, huge monsters, So it's just, certain little nuances, and even the vibe with my band, I want that to be on point too. Sometimes somebody might be having a day,
It happens.
I might be having a day. And sometimes that definitely plays a part in what my performance may be like. There are some times when I'm going through some personal things. And I can express them musically and through my performance. Usually when that happens, you're probably going to get a dynamite performance because I carry that energy with me on stage. Even if it's negative energy, I still carry that with me. And sometimes I can conquer whatever those fears may be, or whatever that nervous energy may be. I can conquer that in my performance.
Carmen, I've actually heard athletes say the exact same thing, and I'm older now and I'm no longer an athlete, but I am still a cyclist, and I've heard some of my buddies who are in much better shape than I am, who are more competitive in certain sports, actually say very similar things about that little bit of anxiety that gives them that type of energy. It's almost like they have to persevere, and it's all about directing that energy, even negative energy, directing that energy in a way so that it helps you or enhances what you're doing and conquering it.
Yes, I use that a lot. It definitely helps me get through a lot of the performances.
Yeah, because it's not like you're trying to hide out. You're actually performing. You're going out there and you're getting it done.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
So,
and then also,
go ahead.
I get in my head a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the lack of self-confidence comes in. But I still struggle with that. And after my mom passed a couple of years now, it was really bad. I mean, I had no confidence at all. My mother was my biggest fan, and I just lost all confidence. So I'm still trying to get back to that place, where like, okay, I'm good. So yeah. I'm still struggling with that, but I know eventually, things will get better and I'll be okay. And
yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your mother and how that also affected your confidence. I think kind of the message that we're trying to give the audience here today is that anxiety around performance is not just something for a beginner. People at the most advanced levels, they have it. And so, I often hear people say, gosh, if only I could play like ... or if only I could sing like ... whatever that idol and so forth is. But sometimes we find that the person that we idolize is actually struggling with the same thing. So Carmen, I heard you maybe about a year ago, you were talking about how you really liked Chaka Khan. And, and I was sharing with you that, did you know that Shaka Khan actually struggles with performance anxiety? And there was this interview that she did with RuPaul about a year or two ago, in which she opened up about that. And she can't, actually the days of her performance, she can't eat. So it's really interesting that, it kind of begs the question, at what point does it become good enough? At what point can we feel okay with where we are on our journey? So it's just an interesting discussion.
And I was shocked when you shared that with me. I was like, wow, Shaka Khan? I mean, really?
We've had a program about that, CC, where we do that. I mean, as artists, we watch other artists. There are only so many different things that you can't pick up from people, because we're just, based on whatever type of music you listen to, you're drawn to that. And we listen to other people, and that admiration kind of slowly turns into comparison. Sometimes we find ourselves comparing ourselves to other individuals for whatever reason. And, we sometimes just have to remind ourselves about the uniqueness of ourselves. And even if you admire someone, you're still you. That person can't be you. I mean, your voice on your instrument, or your voice as a vocalist, or my voice as a percussionist, that's me and uniquely me. And, it's okay to admire someone, but really it's about being your best self and your voice and your own original way of doing things. And I think it's just human nature to, with those really great comparisons and that admiration, it's just human nature to just kind of think, well, wow, I'm that person's better than me. And it's so much not about someone being better than you, and I think we all know that.
That is so true. And I'm so glad you made that point. I think we need to start saying that, telling ourselves, hey, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. What I do, I'm good enough. And whatever doors that God will open for me, He's going to open them.
That's right.
I often tell some of the other ladies that I perform with, I tell them we talk about character a lot. And I tell them, your character will take you places that your talent may not. And I think developing your character is so very important too. To me, it goes hand in hand with the performance and the confidence. It's really important. Go ahead.
But Carmen, that's not just being a musician. That transfers into business, into sports, and just about anything else that a person does. I mean, you spend your entire life developing your character and your integrity and things like that. And in a moment of indiscretion or doubt, that can't compare to all of the work that you do to build yourself into what you are. So it's really good. One of the things that I like about our programs, and we're musicians, but I've happened into coworkers who've made comments about our podcast, because people who are professional or in office jobs or whatever, they have the same areas of anxiety, and we don't really think about that. Remember, we were talking about how public speaking is like the number one fear. Who would have guessed that? But it's all about people.
It's that fear of judgment.
Yes.
It's that fear of judgment,
Yes.
like what Carmen was saying. And public speaking is really the same thing as performing. Whatever you do, if you're a juggler, comedian, it's that fear of judgment is one of the biggest fears.
That is definitely true. Definitely true.
So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it. I laughed when you said juggler.
Yeah.
So
So, Carmen, really appreciate you sharing your story today. I think we could probably go on for a long time because I know you've had some experiences, and maybe we'll have you back on the show. And I really want to actually hear more of your story. So hopefully we'll get to, I think I'm going to be with you in Atlanta this weekend. So maybe we get to talk more. But I want to kind of circle back around to some of the tips that you use, the tools that you use to help you push through, because, somebody out there, I know a lot of people out there that are struggle with this that may be able to help them. It's one thing if Wil and I say it, we could say it all day, but, hearing from other people as, a lot of courage for you to come and open up.
Absolutely.
To with your story here. So, I'm capturing a few here, saying positive affirmations.
Absolutely. I have now begun to tell myself, this is something that one of my fellow musicians tells me, that she sings with me a lot. And she always says to me, Carmen, trust your gift.
Yes.
Trust your gift. And, when she used to tell me, I would hear her, but still kind of, okay, I hear you. But now, I really take that to heart. So I'm so thankful and grateful to Bridget Johnson for saying that to me, because now I that's how I push through. That's one of the things that I use to push through those positive affirmations. Trust your gift. Trust your gift. And if I trust my gift, that means I trust my God who blessed me with this gift.
there you go.
So,
Right.
that is definitely, one of the main things now that I use to get me through. Let's see, what else is it?
Well, that kind of ties into another one that you mentioned was prayer. You said you say a prayer before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I realize it's bigger than me. That's another thing that
Right.
helps
That is
me
so
push through
true.
the performance. It's like, Carmen, this is so not about you. It's so much bigger than you. Mm-hmm. So when I understand, this is bigger than you, then I'm on an assignment. This is my assignment, and that helps me get through the performance.
That's excellent. I love that advice. Was there any other tips or tools that you use to help you?
Yes. Surrounding myself with the right people. I pray and I ask God to surround me with people who are of good character. I ask for seasoned saints.
Seasoned
Folks
saints.
who have been where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
And who genuinely care about me, love me, and want the same goals that I want. And I have been surrounded with such wonderful, wonderful people, as we call ride or dies, that is so very important to me, to be surrounded with positive people and with prayerful people and with people who will not just be with me when I'm up, but be with me when I am down, when I have nothing. They are right there. So those things are so very important to me.
I can attest to that because on every gig, every public gig, I should say, that we're on, you always have a crew, not just one friend. You have a crew of friends that always come, and they're all positive people, and it's always great that they uplift me. So I can attest that you do that, and that would make anybody feel good.
They love you, CC. But it really helps. I mean, unless it's a private affair, my girls are always with me. They are always with me. And I'm so appreciative because I tell them all the time, I prayed for y'all. I prayed that God would send me you guys. So
The power of prayer. You know,
There you
it
go.
works.
okay.
Yep, it works.
Amen.
Stop,
So-
don't start nothing. There.
All right. So I think that's about all the time we have today. And we went a little bit over, but I think it was so worth it because, you know, Carmen, you have a powerful message.
Yes.
And you know, appreciate you sharing your story and being that courageous person.
Oh, no problem.
And
we don't talk about it enough.
yeah, we don't. We have to, you know, it's not all about, you know, judgment of people. It's just, you know, we're out here expressing our art, you know, and so, and that's what it's really about. So tell people how we can find you.
Oh, okay. You
got a
can
website.
find me, you can go to www.carmentcraven.com. And if you like to eat,
Shout out to Eden.
okay, because I love to cook, you can go and look
She
for
does.
Carmen's Cravings Curbside Cuisine. And I'll take you back to my home, Tampa, Florida, hook you up with some Cuban food. Check me out now.
Okay, so we're gonna have a topic on confidence in cooking. I don't know. I'm just thinking. All right, I'm getting silly now.
Yeah.
All right. So again, thank you so much, Will.
Thank
Do
you
you
all.
want to wrap it up for us?
No,
Take us out.
I just appreciate you bringing Carmen along, and I sincerely appreciate you opening up, Carmen, and sharing with everybody. There's so many artists who feel the same way you do, and by hearing you, hopefully they will have the confidence to apply some of the things that you've mentioned or suggested, and you know, and think about that when they're experiencing what they're experiencing, because some people are traumatized by this, and this is really a serious thing, even though we're joking about it. So we appreciate you having the confidence in us and being brave enough to actually mention this, and we're just glad that you're here.
Oh, yep.
Hopefully we'll be able to get you back. And we're glad that you're here.
Anytime. It's my honor. It is truly my honor.
Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for bringing her along, CC. We will ensure toward the end of our program that we splash all of your contact information about anything that you want there. So we'll just like put it all over this podcast and people will see it. And every time they look at the podcast, they'll see your information. So it'll be frozen in time forever.
Lord, we are sick of seeing her.
Yes. And that's about all the time that we have today. So go ahead and sign us off, CC. I'm going to start the music. And
Okay. Well, yeah, like Will said, that's a wrap for today. I am CC Bass.
And I am Wil Cameron.
And we are out of here.
Bye.
Gotta turn that music up.
I know there's no
Okay. Very good, Carmen.